Well, looks like I'm not going to be able to show the PowerPoint. Darn it. I worked on that so hard.
Oh, maybe we can include it in the class handouts.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
And you are good to go.
Okay. All right. So welcome and glad to see everybody. This is the last of our 8 sessions. And, I hope I haven't bored you too much. But at any rate, the last time we spoke about the Central African Republic. And, there was a coup attempt there, and it wasn't a happy place for me. Seeing dead bodies on the street is not my idea of fun. But when I left there, I was lucky enough to get a wonderful cable not an award and a cable from Susan Rice, who was then the head of the Africa Bureau at State Department, inviting me to what they call the senior seminar, which is tantamount to saying you're going to be appointed as an ambassador. Unfortunately, I was just too broken. I turned it down and said, no thanks. I'm just biding my time until I can retire. So that was probably one of the stupider decisions I made. But by that time I was just, because Togo was tough too, with the drought and kids getting the malaria, and it was and a presidential election that was violent. So anyway, I decided to go as a management officer to Jamaica, and that too, at least on the work level, was quite challenging because we were building a new embassy and also taking over a hotel that we were going to renovate for our diplomats and their families. And so all that fell on my section. And it was very interesting because Jamaicans don't hold back, that's for sure. And a lot of them weren't very happy that we were going to build a new embassy in their neighborhood, and which meant more traffic and a lot of other issues. So I had to have these meetings to try to explain everything and answer their questions and appease them. It was interesting, a little challenging. I also have to give a shout out to who at that time was the Secretary of State, the best that I ever served on, and it was Colin Powell. I mean, he was incredible. I mean, he really took care of things and made policies that were to the benefit of everyone, including the foreign service employees from the various countries. He also took on the fact that a lot of our embassies were old and decrepit and needed to be replaced or repaired. And so he brought this about 5 foot tall black general on and put him in charge of all the construction. This guy, working with him, he certainly earned your respect because he took no crap. When he set a deadline, he meant the deadline. And for the first time in State Department's history, I think that they built 11 brand new embassies and renovated others, I don't know how many, and not one of them went over budget or didn't keep the time. That was a new record that had never happened before. And even though, he was a taskmaster, I really respected that guy. He was something.
Do you call his name?
I've forgotten his name. I wanted to look it up, and those kind of positions are hard to find online. But I just, I can see his face and everything, but I've forgotten his name.
Sure.
That's unforgivable.
Happens.
So when I left the Central African Republic, I was on home leave, and the morning of September 11th, 2001, I got a call from my son saying, turn on the television. And, I did in time to see the second crash, the 9/11 horrible incident. And 1 week later, I had to be in Jamaica. Well, the new ambassador was having her very first meeting that morning. So that was an eventful start to a new tour. The Jamaica challenge really, it was on the work level, and I did have to work on Saturdays and long hours. But on the personal level, I had some challenges there too, because my son and his wife, and they were getting along real well, and the two children decided they wanted to come to Jamaica. So I, with the agreement of everybody, I became the legal guardian for the kids so that they could be on my orders and have diplomatic passports and, and have the protections and everything. I'm really happy about that. They were 5 and 6 and 4 at the time. So it gave me a chance to really interact with my granddaughters and everything. And while they were in Jamaica, she got pregnant and had my third grandchild, Joshua, who was born in Jamaica. It was sort of funny because he took a long time to learn how to talk, and he was 2 when we left and went on to Ghana. But at one point, we were thinking about looking for some kind of therapy to see whether he needed, some help with speech development. And he got angry with his sister, and all of a sudden, he, in a perfectly Ghanaian accent, he said, "I would beat you all." He started out in, full sentences, nothing, there was nothing in between. He just went from 0 to 100.
Yeah, same with my grandson. Up till 3, they were worried, took him to a doctor. Now, wow, you can't even.
Exactly. He was all, when he spoke his first sentence.
Yeah.
We were so concerned, but anyway, in Jamaica, I should say, one of the things, I've always loved languages and accents, and of course you get a little bit of maybe overconfident. And people said, in Jamaica, they have really strong accents. And I said, that won't be a problem, So there were these 2 technicians that came to my place to install the TV connections, and they had very strong accents, but we worked through it. I had to slow down and repeat, and I was thinking, okay, it take a little work, but I'll get this easily. They turned to each other and spoke. I did not understand a word. I said, oh, maybe this is going to be a little, more challenging than I expected. And then most of the ones that were in the Kingston area, of course, the embassy was in Kingston. So I was in the capital. They had what I call they dropped their H's. So handsome became ansome, home became home, all of the H's tend to be dropped when they spoke. And took a while to get used to that and a few other things about the way they spoke. And then one day I was with an embassy driver and we were in a very sketchy area of Kingston looking for some address. And I turned to him and I said, are you familiar with this neighborhood? And he said, oh yes, madam. I know the ins and outs of it. There's another group that added H's to everything. Ins and out became ins and outs. And Howard, I'll be on the right Howard instead of our, yeah, Jamaica was a challenge. My son got right into it. He could still go into a Jamaican accent in a heartbeat. one of the great perks of working there, though, and living there, is that you're considered a resident. And to go to any of the resorts or whatever, there was a completely different pay schedule, for residents. So any chance I got, I went to Montego Bay or to, one of the places for the all-inclusives and took the kids and the family. Oh, did she leave already? Oh, okay. He did send it. So he says, where do you want me to send? I told him. He said he can't send it to. I'm sorry. Okay. Just swipe that and then tell them where to send it. Thank you. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah. So I did get to go to several of the resorts and enjoy myself there. When we got a notice that Ghana was looking for somebody urgently, a management officer. And I was supposed to do 3 years in Jamaica, but I ended up doing 2.5 because they said, I said, yeah, I'll volunteer. I love Ghana. I had already been there once. And so even though I was fatigued but happy with the experience of living in Jamaica, I was also happy to be transferred to Ghana. And I knew that I was going to retire after that, even though it was before my actual time to retire. I was the person, once again, Ghana was building a new embassy. And again, that fell on me. We were having budget problems and there were conflicts between the different agencies. And, there were a few other issues, but fortunately, I'm a people person. I like people. I was able to, soften a lot of the animosity between the agencies because there was, it got to be a little nasty at one point. The other issues in Ghana were that some of our houses were poorly built and we had 3 electrical fires, including my own. We were, and just like in Jamaica, whenever I got the chance, I traveled around the country and did do some of the tourist attractions. Did it work?
I sent a message.
Okay. Some of the tourist attractions. They have, I don't know how many of you have been to Ghana? Has anybody been there? Okay. At least 2. Anyway, they have the crocodile farm, they have these suspension bridges, they have the places where they do the kente cloth and basket weaving. So there are a lot of interesting things to see. I'll be happy to share anybody that's interested in finding out about that kind of thing. That's another thing I didn't send, but I'll share, those of you that don't already have it, my email address, and I'll repeat it at the end, is judydfrancis@hotmail.com. Be sure to put the D in the middle or else it won't get to me. JUDYDFRANCIS@hotmail.com. So, anybody can feel free to contact me. When it's on the lighter side, some of the things that Ghana was interesting for let's see, there was a company that launched a brand new cola in Ghana when I was there and took out a full-page ad. And it was a family from India, from East India. And it was called P Cola, P-E-E, Cola.
Oh.
For the Ghanaians, Ghanaians always said urinate. They didn't use the word P, at least at that time. So it was no big thing for them. big ad that said, you've tasted nothing until you've had a cold, refreshing pea. Try. And so, most of the Americans got a kick out of that. And we you don't need to put that on now.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Most of the Americans really had a laugh. And some of us went out to a restaurant to say goodbye to a secretary that was leaving. And she ordered a Coca-Cola. And the waiter came back, very formal, and he says, Madame, I am so sorry to say that we have Coca-Cola, but it's not refrigerated. It is not cold. So would you like a warm Coke or a cold pea? And we're cracking up, and he doesn't even see why we're laughing, but it didn't stay very long. The marketing wasn't good enough to get over that. I think the name. Now, while I was conducting sessions with the Ghanaians that were residing in the neighborhood where we were going to build the embassy, there was one young doctor that was really sharp. He had a lot of penetrating questions and everything. And I got to know him pretty well. We've been friends now for years. And I was invited to his wedding and, always stayed in touch. And this is something like out of sequential order, but about 5 years after I retired, I got an urgent message from him, and then a call saying, I need your help desperately. And I was thinking, what the, let me back up a bit. This doctor was one of the few vegans in all of Ghana. And he was one that was a proponent of veganism, et cetera. And he introduced me to a group. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the Black Hebrew Israelites. Has anybody heard of that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, some of them were visiting Ghana, and they knew him because they were also vegans. And he introduced me and had me over to a vegan dinner, and then we're talking. And now this particular section of the group, I don't know if all of them are the same, but they were not only vegans, but they were polygamist. And they lived in Israel. They grew all of their own food. A group from Chicago in the early 60s, about 30 of them left Chicago saying that they were descendants of Israelites, but not Jews. They were not of the Jewish faith. So. And they moved to Israel, and they still, you can look them up online. It's an interesting group. But the only thing that he had in common with them was that they were vegans. So several years, about 5 years after I retired, I get this urgent call from him saying that his wife had a brain tumor, and that he had taken her down to South Africa and also to Israel, where they supposedly had excellent surgeons. And they had not given him any real hopeful outlook for her. And he thought maybe his chances were better in the States. And he had remembered that my father was a doctor and was wondering if I could, get him in with the medical community. I had explained to him that my father died when I was 13, almost 14. And, while growing up, I was definitely involved in the medical community. I really had no real contacts, but I told him I would see if I could, inform myself on his behalf. And so I was talking to my brother, and I said, "Gosh, this good friend and his wife was dying of a brain tumor." He said, "Well, you always watch 60 Minutes. Did you see it 2 weeks ago?" And I said, "No." He said, "There's a Black doctor that's one of the foremost in the nation that they featured. He's a neurologist." I said, "Really?" I said, "Do you remember his name and where he is?" He said, "Yes, she's that Dr. Black from LA at Cedars-Sinai. And I said, what? And I said, well, it still doesn't mean that I'll be able to get in contact with it. But I went online and it did have an email address and a phone number for his office. And I sent an email explaining the situation. And the next morning, I got a call from his secretary, from his nurse. And she said, well, from what you say, you know, he says, yeah, I sent the x-ray that had been forwarded to me. He said, there's a possibility that she can be helped. And I put him in contact with each other. And lo and behold, you know, he told Edom, that guy's name is Edom, that yes, he could, you know, possibly do the surgery, but he had another colleague that was every bit as good, but was on the East Coast. It would cost him less at Johns Hopkins. So the beautiful end of the story is she flew her to Johns Hopkins. She had the operation successfully. You know, they're still together. She had two children after that. You know, and I said, you know, it's like God works in mysterious ways. You know, the nurse, his nurse was Jamaican. I mean, not Jamaican, Ghanaian. And you know, everything just clicked. And at a point where I said, oh, there's nothing I can do. You know, anyway, it felt, it all came together. And, you know, I've visited them since twice at their place. And, you know, they have 3 children now that, you know, have gotten big. But and you knew about Dr. Black, Linda, huh? Yes. Did any of the rest of you? Because I had missed, and I usually do watch, okay. I usually watch 60 Minutes, but I had not seen this segment. But it just so happened my brother was on top of things.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was. Oh, and by the way, the other doctor that did the operation, he was Jewish, but he was so impressed with Edom and what he had done, and he's still doing a lot of really good things, that he helped build a special wing in the hospital in Accra for neurology. Wow. So it was a double win. Let's see. Okay, right before I went to Ghana, here in LA, I went out to breakfast with a friend and happened to see another friend at the same restaurant. And she was with a Ghanaian lady who turned out to be a queen mother. And I told her I was on my way to Ghana to a 3-year tour. And she said, well, when you get there, you know, when we both get back, I would love for you to visit my village. And so I said, you know, I'd love to. Well, when I finally did, they showed me around one of the villages that was under her reign. And, you know, I was really taken with the poverty there, you know, and you know, they showed me the place where the kindergartners were educated, while their parents were working in the fields. And it was a small, you know, small place with a dirt floor and tin roofs with holes in them and everything. And I said, what happens when it rains? It's, oh, the children are used to the rain. Yes, it gets a bit muddy, but it's fine. You know? And they had a blackboard, which was about not even 3 feet, you know, not even 36 inches round. And I said, how many kids do you have? And they said, oh, about 40. And I was thinking, my goodness, you know, I started thinking about it and I said, maybe I can help with this. And I decided that I wanted to build a school. Build a, you know, and I started asking about how much it would cost. And, you know, it started out with about 10,000, ended up being about twice that. But I said, you know, so we started it, you know, I met with the village people and said, you know, as much work as you can actually do, you know, they agreed. But before it was finalized, you know, built, I put out a notice in our embassy weekly newsletter saying that asking if anybody had any books, for kindergartners that we could use, or any supplies and materials. I got so much from the expat community and the missionaries that were there that it filled up my garage. Pretty soon I said, I can't wait till the school opens. I've got to take some. Oh God, I hope it does not just disappear, because I'll have to pass it out, But I did. I took it. Different families came and got them, and then they had this ceremony, and not only did they not keep them, but they all shared. The kids would learn, read one book, and they give it to the family, and all of them came back to the school. All of them, everything that was distributed, just to have a place, came back. And these little kids were so cute. Yes, madam, I would like to recite for you, that some of them had memorized the books. So that felt good. But the other thing was that they decided that, because I had done this, they were going to make me a queen mother. And I said, oh, no. They said, yes. Anyway, we ended up with this, and this is what most of she did. She's busy right now. When you can, I'll show the PowerPoint. Yeah, the very first one. I hope they're in order. Oh, this is okay. It's not very. Okay.
You have no sound, right?
No sound. Okay, so I had to dress up in all the regalia.
Whoa! Beautiful.
Yeah. And then they had this, I don't even know what you call it, a thing to carry me. You can see sort of the wooden handles. I was carried around by 4 men. Go to the next one. Okay.
Wow.
I felt pretty stupid though. It was carried around, and the noise. I mean, they had trumpeters and what do you call it? Trombonists and drums. I mean, it was those. Anyway, the next one.
What are the gray, looks tubular, the big drains or something in the back?
Yeah.
Of the last one.
The last, go back.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay. Those are the gourds. They have these big gourds that they make drums out of.
Wow.
They carried them and beat them, while they were really heavy. But,
Oh, wow.
yes.
Wow.
And the next one, there's a bunch of these. And the little girl was for symbolizing what the school would do for the next generation.
Oh, Judy. Wow.
Go to the next one. You didn't know that there was a queen giving this.
I know. Really? You were among royalty.
Okay, next. And then, I don't know how many instruments they had, but it was really loud. The next. Then I had to speak, and I was like, oh God, what am I supposed to say?
Are you serious?
You're right. No, I know. They had all of the things ready for me to dress in and get in. Okay, the next one.
How many years ago was this?
Pardon?
How many years ago?
06. And I retired the very next year. Wow. Just random people, and they gave, they later sent these pictures to me, and some of them, they had pictures, like about 7 of them this big. Okay, the next one here. Okay, and that's why we're watching the ceremony.
It's the Queen Mother? The other Queen Mother?
Yes. Next one. Okay, this is and they also insisted on putting my name on the board. I tried to talk them out of it. Okay. The next one. these are some of the kids. Oh, the nice thing was, they started out with 40 in their village, but when the neighboring villages found out about the school, because it was a three-room school, they started bringing their kids. So we ended up having about 80 kids. And I'm telling you, these kids memorize things. And I went there 4 years ago, and they were using cans, soda cans, to teach them counting and arithmetic and stuff. And it was amazing what they were doing. They put them in different arrangements and everything. The kids would come right back and tell them how many, and when they took things away, they were computing it in their heads. I was amazed. Okay, the next one.
Oh.
These are the smaller ones. Yeah, very soon. Okay, I think that's the last one.
How is the school being supported now?
Well, now the government of Ghana has I talked to them before I actually left, because if they don't assign teachers, then the school would be left to its own devices. They ended up assigning 3 teachers, and they're keeping it up. Although I do need, I'm trying to help them because they had a big rain and one of the roofs came in or something like that. So that's something I want to go back next year and try to deal with. But anyway, that's for me, seeing those kids and seeing how it's done. And some of them have been in contact over the years. Once they got to elementary school, I guess, from kindergarten on, and people told them that I had done this. Some of them have contacted me and stayed in contact. So that's sort of a good feeling.
That's really wonderful. That's a wonderful legacy, and I would be willing to contribute something for whatever needs to be done.
Okay, well, when I get it
Same here. Same here.
When I get it organized, I'll probably do some, like a GoFundMe or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please don't forget.
Yeah.
But that village is still, they've made progress, and there's another Ghanaian college student that just finished college that I went 3 years ago and volunteered to tutor in a remote village, which seemed like a throwback. That's where I wondered whether in the villages that things had changed. But I'd go walking in the morning and they'd say, "Hi, white lady. Hi, white lady." So I guess, once you get out of a crowd, things are still, but I met some great kids from that village, this women's program, who one of them is like some kind of computer genius or something like that. And I was telling him that one of the things that kept Ayeldu, which is my village, and that was that they couldn't get reception. And they said, "Oh, we've got a cure for that now." We have these programs that all the way through the elementary grades and high school. So I'm dealing with him on that to make sure it can get to Ayeldu. But anyway, that's about it. Now, the only thing I was going to end with was some miscellaneous African, what I call cultural anomalies. There were 3 countries that I was assigned houses. I might have already mentioned this, that just had a strange architectural arrangement. And I was saying, why are there 2 kitchens and 2 different floors and everything? I found out that's for the ones that are polygamous, and they have 2 wives and they keep them on different levels, and they all each have their own autonomy. Okay. And then when I visited some of the houses of Ghanaians, even Ghanaians that were fairly well off, a lot of them didn't have kitchens, and they explained that they preferred doing their cooking outside. And some of the houses just weren't built with kitchens. Okay.
Can I just inject something? One of the upper class houses I visited had a very modern inside kitchen with, all the current amenities, but that's been, it's been several years now, but, and then they also had their outside kitchen. So they had two kitchens, the
Yes.
modern Western kitchen and the traditional kitchen outside.
Yeah, the same thing with some of my friends, that they've now got both. Yeah, that's.
Right.
And then in the CAR, in the Central African Republic, I learned at a dinner, like if somebody said, "Would you please pass the hot sauce?" And I was trying to hand it to the person, and somebody was saying, "No, you have to put it down, because otherwise it's like wishing their family bad luck." Have you heard that? That in other countries, I never encountered that. Maybe I just didn't realize it, I was doing the wrong thing, but it was certainly prevalent there. And then I learned even from my ex-husband from Togo that if you didn't put certain foods together on the same plate, you could go back and serve yourself again, but you didn't like mix, I don't know, fufu and something else and rice. And in Senegal, and I always tried to really get into the local customs, in Ghana, I ate with my hands, because they come and they wash and do the whole thing. And so, I got used to that. But in Senegal, I could never get it together, they for the chebujin, and they would be able to put it, make the balls, and I would do that, and everything would squeeze out of my hands, and I was all sloppy. So I probably made a breakdown and asked for spoons there in Senegal. Were you able to learn how to do
Yeah, I was able to learn.
that? Okay.
But another I call it superstition too, is the shoes. Did you ever encounter that? If you when you take your shoes off, and most of the time you take your shoes off to go to somebody's house, if you have one sandal or whatever flipped over,
Oh, I didn't know
you
that.
don't want people to come
Oh.
Repeat what? We couldn't hear you that well.
She said if you take your shoes off, which you usually had to, and there was one sandal flipped over, you mean from
in. At your own home.
at your own home,
Yeah.
that means you don't want people to come in.
Wow.
I would have missed that one
And,
completely.
I used to keep my shoes off regularly, and sometimes my in-laws would come and fix it for me. I know she doesn't know.
Yeah, she's just ignorant. But and in Ghana too, there was an employee going by the hall, through the hall, and I called him, and he ignored me and kept going. And this other one came in and said, he couldn't answer you. You're not supposed to talk to anybody when they're going to the restroom. I had no idea. I had no idea he was going to the restroom. But there are little things like that you just. I tried to be as conscious of picking up on things as possible, but sometimes you would miss things.
Like if somebody's in the restroom and you needed them, you had to wait for them to come out. You can't just talk to them through the door.
Yeah.
They wouldn't answer.
Yeah. Well, in Senegal especially, but but in Senegal, if you didn't greet the person, I think I already mentioned this. If you didn't greet the person first, they wouldn't talk to you. If you just come in and say, some of the Americans would come and say, "Is Judy in her office?" And my secretary would just sit there like she didn't hear it. They'd have to say it 3 times before she'd even look up. And I finally asked her, I said, "You couldn't hear them?" She said, "I could hear them. They can't greet me." Just ignore the person. And so I said, okay. Can you think of any other? There are just a whole bunch of small things that I used to keep a little notebook.
The marabouts.
Oh yeah.
Did you talk about that?
No, I didn't.
Because they have the faith healers.
Yeah, the marabouts are basically faith healers, and most people believe in the. Well, let me expand it a bit. I don't know whether you noticed this, but whether they were Muslim or Christian, most people keep something of their native religion, you know. And you know, they might have their their beads if they're Catholic, but they'll also have a little bracelet on their ankles or something, or a little gree fetish, some kind of fetish, because both are working. And that's true also in the Americas, the Quechua Indians, you know, they would even put their little things next to the Catholic symbols in church, you know, so you had to be aware that both of those things are going on.
Cuba as well.
Cuba too, yeah, Santeria. Yeah, so there are a lot of things. Well, hey, Louisiana.
In Louisiana.
Louisiana has that. We can't hear you.
Can't hear you,
Sandra, put your.
Oh, no, I was gonna say yes, Louisiana. I think it's kind of something that happens a lot. I mean, Brazil,
Uh-huh.
and probably right here around the corner.
Some more serious than others, you know. But I swear, even my ex-mother-in-law, you know, she was very, very Catholic. But when she got sick, you know, I think there might have been some chickens that died. You know, she started going back to some things that I didn't even know were part of her belief system. Anyway, there was what I do want to close with, because I wanted to. I had another thing that had all this information on it. Of course, left it at home. Didn't send it, but excuse me. For me, the 15 years of living in Central and West Africa were real eye openers, you know, culturally and in many other ways. I had been to Brazil before, and one of the things that shocked me back in the 60s was to see the street kids huddled up that slept in the street, even small kids. There would be bunches of 14 kids in the doorways of businesses. I never saw that in Africa, you know, at least not in my experience. Somebody would, if there was a child that was on his own or whatever, somebody would take them in and raise them. And, you know, you just didn't see street kids. No. There was this feeling of community that really did work, which I appreciated. Even, you know, I went to an orphanage run by a nun, and this was in Togo. And you know, I was talking to her, and I said, you know, are most of the kids Catholic? And she said, most, but not all. She said, we have one young man in particular who lost his parents, but they were Muslim, and he wants to be an imam. So I said, and he remains here? She said, oh yes, because he needs a home. But we are raising the money so that he can go to Quranic school. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. You know, this nun that's raising money so that this kid can go to Quranic school, because her only concern was that they're healthy and happy. You know, it wasn't about, you know, forcing any kind of conversion or anything. And even in the Central African Republic, I don't think I mentioned this, but when they were during the war, I had three nuns come to me. They were all about 5 feet tall. I'm only like 5'1" or 5'2", but they were all shorter than me. And one was Black, one was Asian, one was French, white. And they were coming on behalf of a young man who had walked all the way from Rwanda. He had lost his whole family in the genocide there. And it took him 7 months to get through the jungles and everything alone. He had picked up a 6-year-old that was wandering around and protected him. And then the nuns had been hiding him in their, their facility. And they said that because he resembled the tribe that was being killed during this conflict, they were afraid for him. They wanted to get him out. And they came to me to see whether he could go to the States. And I said to them, I said, I can try my best through some of the humanitarian things or whatever it is, but without a travel document, there's not much I can do. And they sort of looked at each other, and one of them reached into her habit and pulled out a passport. Wow. I didn't ask any questions about how it came to me. But we ended up getting him to the States. Wow. And he too stays in contact. He's doing really well. He's graduated from university, doing well. He stayed in contact with those three nuns and with me. And it was, I still to this day wonder how in the heck it had to be a false passport. But I didn't ask any questions.
Wonderful.
I did get contacted by this young man when he was trying to regularize his papers here. And can I tell them that you gave me the visa? And I said, yeah, you can. I said, want me to take whatever the consequences are. And they did write to me, and I said it was a humanitarian act, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They said, fine. So he's doing well. He's an American citizen now, doing well. So there were some really gratifying things about me.
Just Judy, just think what would have happened had you not been that person there.
I really, I try not to think about that.
Or if you had the other administration.
Pardon? Oh, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, that's.
Yeah, I mean, if there had been, or even just a white person there.
I've seen some horrible things.
That young man's life would not be the same.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's. I would like to think that I'd like to think that the majority of people would do the right thing, even though there are a whole lot that would not. Especially we're sitting here in the news thing of this 18-year-old who's killed all those people. I mean, what is happening to this country? I don't know. Maybe, but does anybody else have anything they would like to?
Now, when he came over here, where did he land? I mean, did he stay with family or another church?
It was another church group. It wasn't a Catholic group. It was a AME church.
Wow.
Out there. And he got back in school and completed all of his education. Smart as a whip. So it's good to see. Anybody else have anything to contribute? It's time for you to go. Huh? Okay, well, that's about it for me. I did want to leave a list of, it wasn't really a list, it was just 3 different groups that I know that have really good things going, there's at my school, that's one thing. Another friend who's originally from Rwanda, who's built a thing for mothers, for expectant mothers, that they're making sure that they have good medical care. And she and her husband have really donated a lot of theirs and kept that going. And just a few that are really trustworthy. But since I screwed up and didn't bring it, if anybody is interested, I can send it to you. Okay.
What is their view on abortions?
I think most
maybe in other
I think in most countries where there's a big difference in attitudes is about abortions and about homosexuality, because they still are very, anti that, they go into religious, feeling that those two are sins against God. So, I mean, there are a lot of areas that I have discussions with people, like, for example, our attitudes in general in America on authority are so much different from in Africa. The chief, what the chief says goes, question it, And I would tell them, I said, well, in my family, I know you guys would not like this, but my brothers would tell my son sometimes, to do silly things, and if they were willing to do it, they said, you better think for yourself. If I tell you to go jump off of a bridge, are you going to do it just because I say so? So we sort of cultivate the idea of individuality and making your own decisions. That's starting to change, I think, in most of the educated Africans, but it's still very much a difference. Well, Sandra, you've had a lot of interaction. What do you think? You're muted.
Well, particularly in, rural areas, but I think that, yes, and it depends on the religion of the people, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, but those traditional attitudes are pretty much, I think, steeped in the culture. And of course, there are always, some enlightened people.
Well, there
and I think in in Uganda, I mean, they're just toward, homosexuality can land you in jail, or maybe I don't even, maybe killed. I don't know.
Not just Uganda. That's in a lot of Africa.
Yeah, but one thing I have to say now in Abidjan, this is what I've observed. Nobody has talked about it, but I see they have a large gay community.
So does Dakar.
Huh?
So does Dakar.
Yeah, they have a large gay community, and I see, some people that I know I'm friendly with, and I mean, nobody says anything, but you see they're, men together, they're out, they don't seem to be, what's the word?
Or persecuted, or
Persecuted, or what? There's another word, but I can't think of it now.
Ostracized.
Ostracized. That's the word. Thank you. They seem to be able to. They operate freely in the society, although nobody says anything. But if you look at what you're seeing, you see that they are living their life. Nobody is, doing anything to them or preventing them from doing anything. But maybe it's just not said, or it's something you don't say, but it's something that you obviously see. It's clear.
I think Abidjan has the biggest French influence of anywhere in Africa.
Yeah, they do.
Abidjan is very French. Yeah, more so than Senegal, more so than Mauritania or any of the other places.
Mauritania is definitely not.
or Mali.
And Mali either. So
Abidjan is very, very French.
I've got a quick question, totally off the subject. But if one was going to Senegal and wanted to go up to Morocco, like Casablanca, I mean, is travel that readily available? Can I get a plane from there?
Oh yeah, especially Senegal and Casablanca.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
No.
As soon as I finish saying this, we're going to go into the possibility of a trip to Senegal. But I did exactly that. Went from Dakar to Casablanca. But when I got to the airport, and I'm traveling by myself. This is one of the many stupid things I've done that turned out okay, despite my stupidity. I decided, oh, well, the hotel I was staying in was just outside of Casablanca, and I heard you could get there by train. So I go, from the airport, there's a train station, and I got on the train, and almost everything was in Arabic. I said, that's the first problem.
Oh, Lord.
But the names were also, I could recognize the names in French in our lettering. And so I started asking people questions, and they would first answer me in Arabic, and then I'd say, I'm sorry. Basically, you're not from here. They would take me for being
Right.
And I said, no, I'm not. And they said, where are you coming from? And I would say, Senegal. I didn't come from American. Yeah.
Good to know. Thanks.
They were so nice and so helpful. And when I got to the station, where my hotel was, this man and woman said, well, listen, we'd like to walk you just to make sure you're okay. And they walked me to the hotel and then said goodbye. That probably wasn't the smartest thing to decide at midnight.
Oh, wow.
But it worked out well.
I wanted to add too that some of the things have been evolving since, when I lived in Senegal. And that was before, I left in 1996 and went back in 2020. No, sorry. The year 2001. That was my last visit there in Senegal. So you guys all know, you're all familiar with Pan-African Film Festival, right? I believe it was in 2006, 2007, or somewhere around there. There was a Senegalese movie that came, that was shown. I can't remember the name of it, but it was taboo. You couldn't show it in Senegal. It was very controversial. It had to do with female homosexuality. And so I was kind of saying like, oh, come on, these people have a lot of imagination. And then I ran into a Senegalese guy that I knew. He says, oh no, that's going on now. There's a lot of homosexuality going on.
Well, in Ghana, they used to laugh about it. And this was back in the 80s. They would say, oh, I'm not concerned. My wife was with another woman. What can the woman do? And that was their attitude. They said, well, they were against the male homosexuality, but they didn't take any kind of female lesbianism seriously. So that, but like you said, Sandra, in the bigger cities, it has evolved considerably. The thinking and the actions, and it's not the kind of harassment that it used to be.
But they're not at the point where they're having like Pride Month.
No.
I have to go to another Zoom. I want to thank you, Judy. You're amazing. You're wonderful. It's really been great. And I'm definitely interested in taking this. Well, I've talked with Delina about it. I'm definitely interested in taking the trip to Senegal, maybe in December.
Okay.
Going to Casablanca.
On the Casablanca. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Okay.
I heard you're also interested.
What?
Sandra's on mute.
Okay, I'm going.
Sandra?
Yes.
Yeah, she's
interested as well
going to Senegal?
in December.
In December, am I interested in going? Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be good. That'd be good.
Okay, we'll see what we can get together, and hopefully we can stay in contact. But I'd love to hear from any of you, but be sure to put OLLI on the subject line as well, because I get so much spam mail. The first thing I do is go delete if I don't recognize right away. Okay, so I hope to hear from some of you. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Judy. I mean, you have had some incredible experiences. I thought I had had some experiences, and I have, but nothing to compare with yours for sure.
Well, it's funny in doing this, a lot of things that I haven't mentioned here come up into my memory, and I thought, oh my gosh, I guess I do have to get back to writing.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing with us.
Okay, well, thank you for
Thank you, Your
participating. Yeah, oh, Your Highness, oh, God.
Right. Queen Mother Judy.
I can't even say the name they gave me. It's Equifedia. It means something. Equifedia. Okay. So,
Equal daughter.
bye-bye. It means it's something about an egg. And it has to do with, egg cracking and giving life or something like that. Yes, yes.
Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
bye-bye.